Hello everybody, welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. I'm Andrew Broussard. Today we will not be doing watercolors. Today will be an oil painting demonstration. In front of me I have a 5x7 square. It is the ampersand brand. Let me silence that, sorry. It's the ampersand gesso board. So it's a smooth board and allows me to wipe back and forth and create interesting effects. I'm going to take an approach that's very similar to Stuart Davies and Dennis Sheehan, where it's a mixture of complementary colors. In this case, we're going to work with Venetian red and sap green. This is a leftover palette from a figure painting practice that I had, so might use some of those colors. And yeah, we're just gonna go to town. We got nothing really in mind. We're just gonna have fun. Some of these are cheap brushes, so I might wind up like tearing off pieces or throwing things away in the middle, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm just gonna start very random and kind of get an idea of the structural shape that I want within this painting. The mixture of the complementary colors of the sap green and the Venetian red gives me a brown, gives me green aspects, and it gives me the red aspects, which is pretty cool. I'm just putting in shapes, just trying to get an idea what I want. I have the towel laid out so that I can, so it doesn't slide around as much, because I have that wooden board underneath. I've been using palette paper for, not palette paper, canvas paper for my practices with portrait work and figures. So I may actually try utilizing it for some landscape work. It's interesting. I like the texture. It seems hardy enough for alla prima, which I believe is the correct pronunciation, which kind of means in one sitting, where you do the painting in one time frame and call it done, which is the way I do most of my artwork. I am looking into doing what's called glazing, where you'd put it under painting and then you'd glaze on top, where at a later date where you mix a kind of a translucent paint mix, and you kind of just build up effects from that. Let's see. So the cool thing with this is I could put all this in just to get like tones in this area. And if it's too dark, which in this case it's almost certainly is, you can take the paper towel and spread it around, and then we get a beautiful tone. And if you haven't painted like this, it's a very fun, interesting approach. It's kind of in the tonalist style. In fact, it is, tonalist style. An art movement from the 1880s to the 1920s, America. France had it called the Barbizon movement, Barbizon school. Russia had it. I'm not sure what Russia's name was for their movement. Just look up Russian landscape painters of the 1800s or early 1900s. Known painters in America for their movement, George Inez and James Whistler. George Inez, coming out of the Hudson River Valley movement. I'm going to take this towel and fold it underneath because I'm getting a little bit of movement, and if I sit here trying to hold it the whole time, it's going to give me a little bit of issues. So I'll get more padding. It'll probably prevent it from slipping. I don't have an easel set up with this because I just can't. I can't film oil painting and be on the easel at the same time. I have easels and whatnot. I need a good outdoor one. Anyway, yeah, so George Inez, coming out of the Hudson River Valley movement, which was 1800s America landscape movement. A lot of notable painters from that. James Whistler. Okay, so yeah, the Hudson River Valley movement. So I'm going to just kind of talk about that if you just want to watch me paint while I blab. I hope you don't mind. George Inez, Hudson River Valley movement, which was a lot with the patriotic nationalistic movement of the beauty of America and the landscape. Painted local scenes that people would hike out to and view. There's also subtle messages within those paintings where you might see something like a deer or cows or other animals. Deer being there to represent the wilderness, cows being there to represent domestication of the area. There was different things that would take place. They would also explore a location within the time of year, within the time of day, and it was very, very cool movement. Whistler, the other gentleman that I mentioned from the American Tonalist movement, there was an artist that he was taught by. I don't recall the gentleman's name. I think Whistler had some involvement with France, and I think even with Degas or people like that. I think he might have trained with. But with Whistler, he was heavily influenced by the art coming out of Asia and the unity throughout. And from the little that I read on Whistler, he was very much a kind of one and done painting, where he would go and try to get done in one setting, and he wanted to be all one skin of oil, essentially, of paint. Which, whenever he was doing portraiture work, some portraits he painted up to 60 times in order to achieve that, much to the dismay, or whatever issue you want to call it, for the sitter, the person that he was painting. And it's interesting because while I'm working with trying to relearn portraits and oils and that approach, I've been looking at a gentleman, David LaFell. I believe he's still alive, and he has a online class. I don't subscribe to his online class, but I did contact them about it. He does portraiture and still life, and I have a book from him. It's one of my longest books in my longest time period wise in my art collection, my book collection. And he talks about application of paint from the standpoint of applying it pretty thickly and kind of a 3D effect, and how that affects portraiture and I guess 3D objects. While Whistler, I think, was more along the lines of staining the canvas and having that texture there. That I'm not too sure of, but it felt like there was a dichotomy between the two mentalities. So I'm just building up this scene. At the heart of it, tonalism is emotional response, and it's often nice to let your mind just take over, or I'm not sure what a good way to phrase it is. I'm not sure it's the mind or subconscious or what. That's why I'm able to just ramble during these oil demos. So I'm just letting it happen. I am filming this live, so every so often I do check to see if somebody comes into the chat too and says anything, because I like to interact during oil paintings. Also, this is going to be uploaded to YouTube, and most likely if you're watching it, you probably will see it on YouTube. And if you look down below, I do have a Patreon account, and that helps me purchase more supplies for this channel, and you know, just to keep this running. Art supplies get expensive, especially oil supplies. I kind of always have to make that pitch during the oil videos, because this piece alone right here is about $4 or $5. Well, maybe a little bit less. This one you're able to buy in packs of 3 for about $8. Yeah, so about $2.75, which is most likely going to be my justification for an order later on today, so I could get some more of this size. Hobby Lobby has boards that are similar smoothness, and they're 3D. They have a backing kind of frame. And they have a smooth one as well. This is black right here. Sometimes the black can take over very easily, but I think I want to let it take over in this one. I want to get it moody. In fact, I might create a tree that's closer to us right here using this darker. It's nice. It's a lot of application, wipe away, application, wipe away. It's fun. Now, I do find like this area right here is too light, So what I'm thinking is I'm going to wipe this. I'm going to grab Q-tip, which sometimes they work good for me, sometimes they don't. People that are masters with the Q-tip, Stuart Davies, who I mentioned earlier, as well as I did not mention David Usher. He uses this approach as well. They're really good at using Q-tips to pull out tree shapes and trunks and whatnot. I'm going to use this to pull up and soften and lighten this area. Then I don't want black, I want to have that brown tonal value that we've been using. Apply that back here. Then soften it back up. I want to create a structure back here that's going to prevent the eye from going off the page. I say page because I'm usually watercoloring off the board, off the canvas. Nice thing too, which is interesting, and I learned recently, it shows how noobish I am with oils, is the bristle brush is very nice because it lets me get this texture and it lets me wipe and swipe and move things and get these lines, etc. But and it works to get a very textured effect on these type of boards and canvas as well. But with the portraiture, I've been first applying paint with the bristle brush and then using the softer synthetic brushes. And I guess historically they would probably use squirrel hair or something like that, so just some sort of soft brush, where you'd apply with this and then you'd use the softer, and that would allow you to not lift up paint on that second go on top of the already wet paint. I want a little bit light right here. And I could use the back of a brush to make lines too. Do the illusion of light coming through those trees. And I use the word illusion a lot, and I probably pull that from Stuart Davies. He's, I guess, one of my living oil painting heroes. Essentially, that's what we are doing, is we're using a two-dimensional plane, a flat board, to create the illusion of depth, to create the illusion of an object, for me to put down paint and be like, oh, that's a tree. I mean, this is obviously Actually, there was a painting of a pipe. You probably know what I'm talking about. And in French, it says, "This is not a pipe," because it's a painting. And so that's a little bit of silliness, but that's essentially what's happening. That these are not trees, these are just globs of paint. We'll open up a little light right here. We could wipe away completely. Dennis Sheehan, in a little bit of videos of what I've seen, has wipes away, or he mixes such a goopy mix that he will paint within like 9 minutes, 10 minutes to get a sketch in, and then can wipe it all off and just go at it again with a different direction, which is just very, very cool. And with oils, when I was in college and doing oils, never used a medium or anything like that. We just kind of mixed, applied, and played around with it. And I was always scared of mediums because there's like a lot of just chemicals going on. I think that's what scares a lot of people away from oil paints. And there's always stories of historical painters that went crazy or got really sick because of the pigments and the mediums and all the other stuff. A lot of the stuff is safer, way safer today. And for me, so far, what I've used medium wise for this, I have Galakite Light, which from what I've seen is relatively safe, though it is combustible, and you don't want to like eat it. And then I have this other one that's solvent-free gel, non-toxic. And I have linseed oil as well, which is just linseed oil. So if you've been worried or skeptical about getting into oil painting because of those reasons, just look up how it is today, and it's not as bad as it was historically. You're going to find something that you're comfortable with. But there is one that I read, and he made a very valid point. It might be Stuart Davies that said this. He had said something along the lines of odorless mineral spirits, even though there's no odor or low odor, doesn't mean it's not in the air being bad for you. So look past the label and just check to make sure. I personally, I personally won't use mineral spirits. Of how insanely flammable mineral spirits are. I think you just use a small quantity of it, but I've seen stuff where you could have a pan, and they could have an open flame, and due to the mineral spirits vapors in the air, it can catch fire without direct contact from the flame. It was pretty interesting. But I was using mineral spirits to remove paint from stuff. But yeah, so if you ever want to get into painting, oil painting, yeah, check it out. Try these things out. They're a lot of interesting stuff. There's a lot of limited palettes that you can utilize. I mean, here we just used a earth red Venetian red in this case, a sap green, and black. And if you shop around and you buy good student quality, it would still probably only cost you, if you buy big tubes, maybe $30, $40 for those three. If you buy the small tubes and then a big tube of white, small tubes would probably be $3 or $4 each. So I know you get 5 colors, let's say for $4 each, that's $20. Big tube of white, that's $30. Cheap pack of brushes, cheap canvas just to start playing around with and seeing if you like it and move your way up. It's probably not the best advice to say cheap canvases and whatnot, but that's just to see if you want to try it. Like in college, before I started taking art classes for fun, I used ultramarine blue, most likely a cadmium yellow hue, alizarin crimson, and those are all the synthetic, just basic brand, and white. And I had those canvas panels, and I would just slop paint on in an impasto fashion. Just think of Van Gogh or something like that. And that was the beginning of my oil paintings. That was 2006, let's say. Then I took, some art classes at college on the side. Got my degrees in math and physics. Moved down to Louisiana, to where I was born, to get certified to teach, because it's way cheaper to live down here, and I've never liked traffic. And started teaching in 2012. I had taken a long hiatus from art and oils and whatnot, and now I'm back. I like the horizontal strokes and the kind of smoothing for water. This one is pretty much done. I mean, we could keep playing around with it, and that's the fun of it, but I'm going to end it at that. And if you have any questions, please comment down below. If this is on YouTube, please like, subscribe, follow. If you... so I mentioned questions, please feel free to ask. I'll address anything. If there's ever anything you want me to try and paint, let me know. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you want to follow along, I'd love to see your results. If you follow along and somebody's like, hey, I love that, I want to buy it, go ahead. You have my permission to sell anything you do if you follow in a tutorial. Because art supplies are expensive. Also, if you wind up painting a lot, they wind up taking up a lot of room, and your fiance winds up telling everybody about how many paintings you have and how much room they're taking up in the house. But no, in all seriousness, I want you guys to all succeed. Actually, she just got home, so let me go. I'll talk to you later. Bye. I'm rushing off. Bye.